If you like post-apocalyptic desert punk settings, I have two words for you. Scorched Basin. Scorched Basin is a tabletop RPG setting inspired by Dune and Mad Max. And it is system agnostic, so you can just plug it into any system you like, whether it's Shadowdark, Call of Cthulhu, Daggerheart, or Morgborg. You could if you wanted to run it in D&D, but I think it would totally rock with EZD6 Wasted World. So after I show you what's in the kit, I'm going to have a crack at adapting some stuff from Scorched Basin to EZD6. Hi, I'm Karl by the way. Just so the cards are on the table, Scorched Basin is a Kickstarter, and the creators, Homie and the Dude, were kind enough to set me up with an affiliate link. So if you pledge to it from my link in the description, I will get money from them. The reason that I feel good talking about this is because the quality of the preview material that is already out is really good. Good enough that I want to run it. In fact, I already backed their campaign. Heck, I'm confident enough in it that I even did some voice acting for them, recording lines for a generic NPC, but more on that later. The Scorched Basin itself is a humongous crater caused by a meteor impact several centuries before the game's current time. It's blazing hot by day, freezing cold by night, high winds shift the sands constantly, changing the face of the land and revealing and hiding relics of the past, and deadly beasts prowl everywhere. The place is as inhospitable as they get. However, 5 factions still call it home, drawn by the powerful crystals left behind by the meteor. Everyone wants the crystals. The highly civilized Kai dynasty use the crystals to power their machinery and weapons. Their cousins, the Riders, are adrenaline junkies who use the crystals to power their bashers, crude vehicles they use to blast across the desert in search of a rush. The nomadic unsettled inhale powdered crystal to fuel their magical powers and sustain themselves as they try to protect the balance of nature. The warriors Kara use the crystals to revitalize their fields, and the crystal-grown crops make them ridiculously strong and imposing. Last but not least, the subterranean Dothlok venerate crystals as a gift of the gods, worshipping them with complex harmonies. Now remember, these factions are all cultures, not species, so if you wanted to run a halfling drag racer or an orc fashionista, you can. Each of the factions have detailed histories, items, lore and information which is beautifully fleshed out. The preview I read only contained a section about the Skara, but that chapter alone already has 2 cultural ceremonies written up. In my last video I was talking about how ceremonies help flesh out the world, and this is exactly what I was talking about. Apart from the setting lore, Scorched Basin also includes system-agnostic vehicle combat rules and an alchemy system. I have not seen these yet, but I am pretty hyped for the alchemy system. The Kickstarter also has battle maps, 3D printable miniatures and a soundtrack. And if you've been liking the look of the artwork you're seeing so far, the all-in metal TTRPG community tier also includes a signed and numbered limited edition metal poster of the cover art by The Art of Caustic, the artist who drew literally all of the things in this project. I guess this is a good time to point out that all of this is made by humans with strictly no AI, which is something I completely stand behind. Homie and the Dude went all in on this one, and they even recruited over 100 YouTube and TikTok creators, including me, to provide voiceover lines for their NPCs. Now, that's out of insanely creative or creatively insane people, and just hearing their takes on different factions gave me a ton of character and plot ideas. You can hear them on the Voices of Scorched Basin playlist over at Homie and the Dude. I got to voice a generic unsettled adult. Now, the unsettled don't usually speak as they prefer to use sign language between themselves, but they will occasionally use their voices to communicate with the non-unsettled. Trying to come up with what a mostly silent desert wizard would sound like was lots of fun. If you like the sound of all of this, check out the Kickstarter linked in the description. It's running till the 9th October, and it's already fully funded, so there might be a few more stretch goals unlocked by the time you watch this. Now you know what Scorched Basin is, let's see. Can we adapt a great post-apocalyptic setting to my favorite post-apocalyptic rule set? Let's try to adapt an NPC. If we can convert one, converting monsters and creatures should be that easy. Here we have the details for Ingrid, the chief of the Skara. Now, I'll admit I have no idea what the first section means because these definitions were not in the preview I read, but the rest of it is fairly clear. Defense and durability are high, so I'll start with the Ganger boss stats as a base, and bump them up to 6 strikes and 4 or more to hit, or 5 if she's using her shield. Perks and buff translate well to booms, so she gets booms on rolls involving mental or physical fortitude, charm, influence or strength. All Skara warriors are skilled with their spears, so I'll also give her a melee boon. Her special abilities here give her buffs to resist being frightened or charmed, though in EZD6 I would absorb that into her mental fortitude boon, rather than giving her an extra one. Rally the Kit allows Ingrid to give a buff to friends around her, which translates to a melee buff. Hulking Form is a boon to intimidation. Again, it kind of overlaps with influence, so we can stick to one boon there. Kind Nature is another special ability that allows her to calm down the target. This works fine as a contested role. The section about her attacks will be simplified a lot because of how damage works in EZD6, but I'll say that her one-handed attack works like a basic melee attack, and her two-handed attack crits on a 5 or better. I would translate the Leaping Barrage as the target needing to make an avoidance save, and that's a roll of 6 in most cases, or they count as having been hit with a critical, so Ingrid can roll to see if she causes more damage. This is crazy powerful in EZD6, but since it has limited uses and she's a top tier character, I think it fits. So NPCs are fairly easy to adapt. Let's see about items. The Wailing Flamespitter is metal as hell. It can be used as a melee weapon, so normal EZD6 rules there, and has 2 special abilities. The first one is the Face Melting Solo, which is an area of effect centered on the user. The rules say to make a medium entertainment check, so I'll say 4+ with booms if you have music, social, or performance-related inclinations or aspects. On a success, you cause medium damage to all enemies in range and knock them back 10 feet and give a buff to all allies in range for the 2 minutes, while on a failure you cause low damage. Damage is not very granular in EZD6, so I will interpret that as 1 strike and knockback on success and no damage on failure. Again, the buff translates to a combat boon. The second special ability is Flame Spit, which is a short-range flaming attack. Now, it says here that the target must make a save or get lit up, but to keep things consistent, I just have it be a normal attack roll. It's easier to remember in play, and it lets us use the rules for the burner directly from Wasted World. Nice. Well, that was easy, so let's try another one, the Blue Blood Paint. Again, this has 2 effects. The first one gives you a buff to Intimidation, so that's a boon in EZD6 terms. The second one gives you an effect called Clear Mind, which buffs your willpower, reaction time, and agility. Again, boons. Easy. The conditions for earning the effect take a little more judgment. Here it says that when you take damage, are challenged emotionally, or come under extreme pressure, you must roll a save or lose the effect. Now, I'm not a fan of adding extra rolls to the flow in combat, so I think I'll change the damage condition so you lose the state automatically if you take a critical hit. The other conditions can be covered by roleplay, so that would be a 6+ to retain the effect. This is the kind of thing that I would want to playtest that week, but I think it's a fairly serviceable adaptation. There are a few other elements like vehicles and magic that are not defined in the preview, but since everything in Scorched Basin is very consistent, I expect they will be equally easy to map, especially for a system as flexible as EZD6. The one thing that does not have an analog in the rule set is the alchemy system, and I'm legit looking forward to reading that, because that sounds like something I'd want to lift for my fantasy games. Overall, these conversions are super simple, and while I'll need to tweak a few things, I look forward to running a few games in this setting. The one thing I need to decide is whether to run it as its own campaign or make it a region of the Wasted World, because potentially it could work well either way. Well, that's it for this time. Check out the Kickstarter below, and have a great week. Bye!